Greetings to Woodland Hills Community Church. It's such an honor and a blessing to be here with you today, to be back at Woodland Hills Church. It feels like I'm coming back to a place that I recognize, but I'm sensing new things here. I'm sensing new life here, and that's really exciting. I love the music, love the energy and the worship team, and it's just a privilege to be here today. I'm so caught up in it that I left my sermon in the car and my offering check in the car too. So I'm just kind of going with the flow here, and I hope that's okay. That means that this message is going to be specifically for you. I've been sharing a message as I've been on the circuit, kind of doing pulpit supply recently, and I've kind of adapted it for each congregation that I've been to, but the message for today, I think, really, I hope will resonate with you here at Woodland Hills Church, and there's some personal connections to this that I share. The story from Jeremiah speaks of the prophet going to visit the potter and seeing her working at the wheel, creating vessels, as were the vessels of that day, holding water, holding food, holding wine, holding oil, all made of clay. And if there was a blemish, if it got out of sync on the wheel, the potter would just form it back down and rework it again until it was just right. And the message that Jeremiah took from that was that even the people of Israel, in their struggles, in their brokenness, could be reworked into a vessel that could serve the Lord. And this song that was shared with us today is such a great example of this. We are the clay, you are the potter. I just changed that, you might notice. The song says, I am the clay, you are the potter. And it speaks kind of individual transformation. That's often how Christianity approaches these themes. It talks about our individual issues and transformations. But I want to point out that Jeremiah is talking about the people of Israel in their brokenness. So it's important to think about we are the clay, we as a people. God is the potter shaping us into vessels that can be used and useful. And I think that today, as I prepared to bring a gift to Woodland Hills, I had this beautiful pot that I thought could be a good container to hold succulents for the congregation, but the pot broke. And just like, I tried to tape it together, but sometimes the best things that we create and even prepare end up with broken, jagged edges, right? But just as Jeremiah the prophet received the message that the people of Israel could be reworked, I believe that this pot can be remade to be of service to Woodland Hills. How many of you are familiar with the Japanese art of kintsugi? It's the art that takes broken vessels and repairs them with a special lacquer that has gold inside of it. And you end with a piece of pottery that you can still see the cracks and the blemishes, but it's sealed with gold. And kintsugi actually means literally to repair with gold. Can you say kintsugi with me? Kintsugi. And what does it mean? Repair with gold. My message for all of us today is that God can repair the broken cracks in our lives with the gold of grace and the gold of love. And while I'm no expert, I have watched a few YouTube videos on kintsugi, and I've been working on this method. I just have to be careful not to stick my hand to the pot while I do it, because in a message like this, I'm going to be working quickly with super glue, the kind that's made that can hold pottery together. But, the broken and jagged edges that form in our lives when we are hurt can be mended with the super glue of God's grace and love. And then we can even put a little bit of gold. We can put a little gold into the lacquer, right? We can put it onto the cracked areas. I actually like using turquoise powder because it kind of goes nicely with this pottery as well. And then have to get the right pieces. That piece can hold. With just a little time and care and intention, what was broken can be mended, but you'll still see the cracks. And even as we pour some of the powder on that crack, it'll still show, but that'll be a sign of the resilience that this vessel has gone through. And that's one of the beauties of the art of kintsugi, is that it acknowledges that there are places that are broken in our lives or in the vessel. There are things that are broken, and we don't just try and make it perfect again. We try and make it something that's actually stronger. You try and make it something that shows that it has endured some hardship. Often kintsugi masterpieces have been passed down through the generations. If you think of that china that you may have seen in your family's household, and maybe there was a broken piece of it. In the art of kintsugi, you can mend that and show the cracks to show what it's been through. And that's why this gold and turquoise dust shows where the cracks are. You see that? Now we're going to let this vessel cure for a little bit. But I believe by the end of this message, it'll be able to hold soil, and we can craft it together into a succulent that can be a gift and a message to Woodland Hills. Where are the places in your lives where you experience brokenness? Where are the places where we've experienced jagged edges as a community? I'd invite you to dialogue some with me. I know that Woodland Hills is kind of quiet during the sermons usually, but it's okay. I want to hear what are some of those areas in our lives, in our world, where there are brokenness, where there's jagged edges, where there's people in need of healing. Families. Sometimes our families are broken. Our politics are often so divided right now, we feel like as a nation that we are even broken. Where else?
States hit by hurricanes.
We go through shattered times with health. Maybe states that are facing disasters that are exacerbated by climate change. In all of these areas, there is brokenness. And sometimes if we lean into the jagged edges, it can be painful. It can look like we've broken and we can't be mended, right? But the message for today is that even in our brokenness, God can heal us and can bring us together. We may still see the cracks. We don't need to hide it, but we can celebrate that we've been through some rough times and we've mended if we're open to it. For those of you who remember when I served here at Woodland Hills in 2012, it was a joyous year of my last year of seminary, my first year of marriage, a time of celebrating with the community here at Woodland Hills, and we had a lot of good times. We went on crop walks together. We did a mission for One Earth, and we planted trees, and we had sacred listening Bible study times. We had worship services. And as I was preparing for the end of my time here, many of you also witnessed my wife, Elizabeth, going through her first trimester of pregnancy. We were anticipating our first child. But in the last week of May in 2013, we experienced a tragedy. My wife developed a blood clotting disorder. I had to take her to the hospital on the very Sunday I was supposed to preach my last sermon, celebrating with the community all the things we had done. And a few days later, our first child was delivered prematurely and did not survive. I literally baptized my baby Daniel with my tears. But guess what? The church was there for me and for Elizabeth during that time. Pastor Craig was one of the first people to visit us in the hospital. There were other colleagues of mine in the UCC who were pastors who came and visited us and comforted us and helped see us through and shared the stories of their own losses. We didn't feel alone in that time. Eventually, I knew that this community was praying for me. I went on to be ordained in ministry and to serve in another congregation in Los Alamitos. That community knew of my story and they prayed for us, and they witnessed Elizabeth go through a pregnancy. They held their breath as she went through to full term, and our baby Liliana was born in 2017, and we celebrated her birth and a year later her baptism there in the church. The church became that community that bound us together with gold, where we had experienced brokenness. It was the grace, it was the love that got us through those difficult times. And now we have the cracks that we still sometimes tried to hide. But here at Woodland Hills, I felt like that needed to be shared because I went through that loss here. But God has been working and doing wonderful things and bringing us together. The message for Woodland Hills Community Church is that no matter where in your life you experience brokenness, no matter where you look out in our communities, in our nation, in our world, and you see fractures, jagged edges, it's possible for God to heal those broken places. It's possible for God's love to mend. All we have to do is turn over our will and our lives to God's care, and we can get through anything. Good can come from any struggles. All we need to do is let go and let Jesus, the Kintsugi master, heal us with the gold of God's grace and love, and we can be mended even in our brokenness. All we need to do is turn our lives into the care of God the potter, and God can make us, meld us, remake us into a community that serves God's purpose. When we let go and let God, the grace and love into our hearts, God can remake us time and time again, individually and as a people. And together God's people say amen.